All right, you guys, so welcome back. In this section of the course, we're going to be taking a look at a complete overview of the hardware, from all the buttons and functions that the actual hardware has to offer. We're just going to dive in and see what's up and see how you navigate and how you use them. And then we'll move on to actually producing some music. I know you guys are interested in that. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at this. All right, so you guys, I have a top-down view of the Maschine Plus here. If you have the MK3, then it's exactly the same. There's no difference in the inputs and outputs and everything like that. We're gonna start here because I don't know if you know this, but if you're new to Maschine, then the Maschine Plus and the MK3 is an actual audio interface. It has a built-in audio interface, and that just means that you can record audio directly into here and then it go directly to your computer. If you have the Maschine Plus, you can actually record in standalone mode and directly into the actual Maschine Plus itself. So that's one of the huge benefits of the Maschine. If you're just starting off and you don't have money to buy an audio interface, this can be utilized as an audio interface. You have to go to the website, which I'm gonna leave a link in this course description, where you can actually find the drivers and everything like that to install on your computer to allow it to recognize it as an audio interface. I believe that for the MK3, because I couldn't find the drivers, I believe for the MK3 it automatically recognizes it as a audio interface, but I know for the Maschine Plus I had to download the drivers in order to pull it up as an audio interface inside of Maschine. And I showed you guys how to access all of your audio interface in the previous section. So if you don't remember, then go back to the preferences and settings section of this course. So, all right, so we're gonna start from the left and work our way to the right. So we get two USB hubs right here, so which is super dope because you can actually, on the Maschine Plus, you can plug these in and utilize this as external hard drives or your MIDI keyboards and everything in that sorts. I don't know if they offer this on the MK3. I don't have the MK3. I got the Plus, so I don't know if they have the USB slots. I think they do, but I'm not sure. Then we have our 15 volt to 2.4 amp power supply that you can plug in. Maschine can be either powered by a power supply that you guys should have got with it, or it can be powered by USB, which is this slot right here. So this is your USB-B, and this plugs into the computer. You're probably already aware of that because if you got the Maschine, then I'm pretty sure you are utilizing it with your computer and the software. All right, so this next one is our pedal tab. This is where you plug in a pedal, where we can add sustain pedals and just outboard pedal gear. So, and then we got MIDI in, MIDI out, pretty standard. You can plug in MIDI in and MIDI out, or a lot of times I utilize the USB slot right here to plug in my MIDI keyboards. But if you don't have the newer MIDI keyboard, you want to plug up something that has the old MIDI in and out, then that's those two. That's where you do that at. Then we got our line 1 and 2. Now this is super important. If you are wanting to sample on the Maschine Plus, then these are your line inputs. So you're gonna need a 1/4 inch that looks like kind of like that right there, boom, and then that plugs directly into there. If you're trying to sample, in the course comment section, I'm gonna leave a link down there to show you guys where you can buy the cable that I purchased that will allow me to sample like my iPhone or anything like that into it. But you'll plug into line 1 or line 2, or you can plug into both and utilize it in stereo mode, or you can just plug into one and have it in mono mode. Then we got our mic input. So you need a 1/4 inch and you need a mic input. It doesn't have phantom power. I think it's just line in. Then I got my input gain right here. This controls the gain to either your mics or your line ins. Then we have our line out. So if you are utilizing this as an audio interface, then your lines out is pretty much your speakers. So you can plug your speakers, your monitors, your studio monitors up into left and right, and that'll give you can hear what's coming out of the Maschine. And this is the volume control for that. And this is our headphone jack right here. So if you don't have any monitors to plug in, then you can plug in any headphones with a 1/4 inch adapter to it. And this is the volume knob for the headphones. So that is pretty much it for this top section of the Maschine. Like I said, this is a quick overview of this, and it can be utilized as an audio interface. So make sure you guys utilize these features because I didn't use it for a minute. And another thing too is if you are sampling inside of the Maschine, which we will go over a little bit later in this course, and you have the MK3 or you have the Maschine Plus, you have to make sure that your audio interface is set to Maschine inside the software. So you have to have the Maschine software set as your audio interface to be able to sample in here and then sample inside of your computer. So just to keep that in mind if you're sampling, but we'll talk more about that in the sampling section. So let's go ahead and change this view right here. All right, you guys, so I have the machine in front of me, and to start off with, we're gonna start off on this left side right here, then kind of work our way over here to this right side, then to this bottom left, and then to this bottom right here. So to start off with, I'm gonna talk about this shift function because a lot of these buttons on here has double functions, and in order to get to them, you gotta hit shift and hit the pad that you're selecting. Now, the double function is like right under it. So this tab right here, this button right here says mute, but right under there is choke. So the secondary function is choke, and then how I get to that is I have to hold down shift and press it. So if any pad that you see with extra writing on it, then you have to hit shift. For all of your actual pads or any button that you see with a secondary function, you have to hit shift. But for your pads, you have to just automatically hit shift and hit the pad. So whatever you see written on your actual hardware, you have to hold down shift, or for your actual pads, you got to hold down shift and press it in order to get to it. But if you are like utilizing one of these buttons right here and it has the big words written on top of it, then you just press that and it'll automatically activate what that primary function is. So I had to get that out of the way because there's going to be a lot of secondary functions and primary functions that we're going to be going over. So this button right here, this in our top left hand corner, is our MIDI channel and just our channel button. So what that is Maschine has the ability to be put in MIDI controller mode. And what MIDI controller mode is, it allows Maschine to be utilized as a MIDI CC controller inside of any DAW, any program that recognize MIDI CC data. You can program every single knob on here and you don't have to utilize it in controller mode. So if you got the Maschine and you got another DAW, then you can switch between controller mode and you can switch between MIDI mode, and that's how you do that. You just hit shift, boom, and Maschine to go green, and now we are in MIDI CC mode. All of these buttons on the Maschine are not controlling the actual software anymore. It's controlling whatever I program it to control inside of my DAW or software. Just a little caveat, this MIDI CC mode doesn't really work in actual Maschine 2 software. I think it's more so if you're trying to utilize it in a third-party DAW or something like that. So just keep that in mind. So we can switch back to that to get back to the MIDI CC mode. So that's our secondary function on the channel mode. Then I can press the channel mode, and this gives me all the inputs and outputs, grooves and macro section. So this is kind of like my channels and my routing section and everything like that inside of the Maschine. So your audio destination of group B, all of that good stuff. So that's your channel button. So you got your channel button, then you got your MIDI CC button. So over here to the right is our, let me go back here. Over here to the right is our plugin button. So if I have a plugin loaded up, like whatever pad that I'm selected on, you notice that my plugin changed right there. And if I come over here and add plugins, just by clicking this little plus button right here, we're gonna add like a Transit Master. Now, I can get to the different plugins just by pressing, or I can get back to my plugins just by pressing that, and it's going to show whatever plugin is on that actual sound. Or if I'm in group, if I have a plugin loaded in group, then it's going to show whatever is on group. So now for instance, if I come right here and I hit that right there, then it shows me what instance or project that I'm running inside a Maschine. So I can hit load and load up another project if I want to, but I'm gonna get out of that. Let's hit that right there and load that back up. And now this next section, this next button right here, this is my ideas view. This is where, like I said, we're gonna be talking about the workflow a little bit later, but the ideas view is where I kind of like audition all of my ideas, for lack of better words. So I can audition all of my ideas and arrange kind of like in the ideas view, and then send it to the song mode if I want to, just to do that. And that's how you get to that. And to get to the song mode, you actually hold down shift, and you can press either this button right here, or you can press ideas again and it'll bring you into song mode. Same thing up here, you can hold down shift to get you back to ideas mode, and it gets you to ideas mode. So there's multiple ways to get to song mode, and you see all these secondary features up here. So since I'm selected on ideas mode, I hold down shift, and now I have all of these other features right here that I can do inside of shift. I mean, and the only way for you to do that is to hit these buttons that's right on top of it. So That's how you navigate to ideas mode and song mode. Now, this button right here is your mixer, pretty self-explanatory. I can navigate just by pressing the mixer. There's no secondary function on the mixer. Now I can come down here and I can do everything that I would do inside the software just by holding down this 4D decoder. So that's the mixer. Now let's come over here to the browser. So the browser is pretty, like, this is where what you want to do, like, you're going to be spending a lot of your time here in the browser section. So we're going to go over this really quick, but it's very in depth. So let's go to the browser. So right now I'm in my browser section. So the browser section is nothing more than what I showed you guys in the last video, where we're talking about the groups, the projects, and all of that different stuff, the kits and sounds and one shots. This is your browser section. So to navigate through your browser section, you're going to utilize all of these buttons up here. Now, if I want to go over to one shots or instruments, all I got to do is hit this arrow button right here. And now I'm navigating over, let me move my hand out the way, to the different groups and sections and projects. Right now we in the project section. If I want to go to groups, I just press that arrow over. I can press the sounds over to get to sounds. I can press it over to get to instruments, and I can press over right to get to the effects and everything like that. Now, in order to navigate within these different sections or instruments, all you got to do is you can come right here and hit this knob right here, and it gives me the different, I can navigate by all, I can navigate by drum and percussion, I can navigate by sample instruments, I can navigate by specialized or whatnot. I can do all of my navigation right here with these two knobs right here. I can go by product, and then that'll let me select the product that I want to select on. Or I can utilize these two buttons right here, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but that just allows me to switch over to different pages inside of whatever tab I'm on. So now I have these two knobs up here are my previous and next knobs, where I can actually audition sounds, or I can hit this star right here, and that'll bring up all of my different favorite functions. Or I can go right here and hit load, and whichever pad I'm on is going to load it up inside a Maschine. Now, right here is my all types of knobs. So if I come over here, then I can choose which type of instrument I want. I got a bass instrument, then I got my subtypes right here. I can go over here and say I want fingered bass, my characteristics, I want acoustic, and then I come right here and these are all my results of all of these things that I selected. So let's come back over here to get out of that. Come back over here to get out of that, and let's come back over here to get out of that. So that is my browser function. Now I can hit shift, and whichever one that I have loaded up, I hit plugin, and it brings me back to my plugins. So that is super dope. You can get to plugins by doing that as well. So now I got my sampler button over here. Now this is super duper important because a lot of you guys probably got the Maschine Plus because you want to start sampling inside it. So this is my sampling tab, and that's how I access the sampling tab. We're going to be talking about sampling in our sampling section, so I'm not going to go too in depth in this. But you have these 4 tabs right up here where you got the record, edit, slice, and zone, and you can access those just by pressing on one of those buttons. Or if you want to start recording, you can hit start and it'll start recording your input signal. Then you got sync, detect, loop, auto, and all that good stuff. And like I said, these arrow tabs shows you what you can actually go to in the next section, which we're going to be talking about right now. So I might as well go ahead and go over that. So these arrow tabs right here shows you, like I'm on page 1 of 3. So I can click over right there, boom, and now it gives me a new set of options to come under these 2 buttons right here. So if you see 1 of 3 or anything like that right there, then you know that there's more stuff over that you need to go to navigate to. So that's these arrows, and that's how you get to that. Now I can hit file and save. This turns on and off the Maschine, or I can hit shift and save, and it'll save my project. This is my settings tab. You navigate to everything by utilizing these decoder knobs right here. This right here is my automation. You know what? Let me come back, get out of settings. Let me come back over here to plugin, and this is my automation. I can hold down automation, and it'll write the automation, and as soon as I release my hand off of it, it'll stop writing the automation. So you can either do it that way, or you can hold down shift and hit automation, and it'll pin the automation so it stays put and it won't go away until I actually hit it again. Then it'll turn off. So if depending on how you like to write automation, then that determines how you do that. So this next button right here, this is our macro knob. So I can come right here, hold down macros, and macros is nothing more than, it's kind of like an automated knob, quick preset button. So let's come over here, and if I hold shift, boom, right there, and I have that right there. Now if I hit this attack button right here, boom, or this button right here, or that button, now I've set up kind of like a preset that if I want to automate those different buttons, I can get to them very quickly just by going over here to my macros. So I hit macros, and now you see attack, sustain, limit, input, gain. So that'll kind of make sense a little bit later when we start actually making some music and utilizing macros and stuff like that. So I can actually automate these buttons and get to them very quickly if by setting a macro. So I'll set that macro and it'll stay there, and I can automate a few different things. Let's come out of here and let's come over here to hit macro set. And well, we don't need to do all of that. We already have a few set here. So all right, so let's move down to this bottom section right here. So this is my this knob right here. This is my 4D encoder. I can navigate by utilizing this. It has a little click to it. I can actually get to something just by pressing it in. So for example, if I'm in browser section and I like that instrument, then I can come over here and press this 4D encoder button in, and it'll replace and load the sounds, whatever I'm on right there in the browser section. So I can go right here, and if I'm over here in this section, it works based off of what tab you're in or what section of Maschine you're in. So if I'm over here, I can actually navigate over left and right, and I can get to different types and everything like that, and I can scroll by utilizing that. Or if I'm over here, then I can actually come over here and start scrolling my products and everything. So that is how you use the 4D encoder. And this is my volume knob. So whatever plugin I'm on or sound that I'm on, I can change the volume or the velocity. Just hit that right there and it actually go down. If I hold down the volume tab, whatever I select on, and then I can turn it up or down like that. You got to make sure you're off of volume. So velocity is the same way. You hold it down and you can change the velocity of it as well. Then you got your swing position. Swing is the same thing. If I hold down this right here, I can change the swing of the sound, or I can come over here and change the swing of the entire group, or I can change the master swing. So there's 3 ways to change the swing, and I can change the position right here by holding down shift and getting to that as well. So then I got my tune. I can come over here and change my tune and tempo tab right here. My tempo is pretty much, I can change the project tempo just like that, holding down and changing this 4D encoder, and you see the tempo changing right there. So that's my tempo change. Tune is the same way. If I hold down tune, then I can turn it up or down. Right now it doesn't allow me to change the tune. You see it right there, it says sound tune. So that's how you utilize tune, but I just typically do it right here, and you can do it from that knob as well. So same thing. So that's how you utilize that knob. So this is my note repeat or arpeggiator section. So note repeat, you can actually change the value of the note repeat by hitting these buttons right here. You can change it by coming over here and navigating to which one you want, and you can see it's changing right here. So I got 1/8. Then I can change it over here from normal, triplet to dotted. Then I can actually lock that if I want to. So turn off hold. So that is my arpeggiator, or my note repeat section. To get to the arpeggiator section, you come over here and then you just hit boop, arp right there, and now I'm in the arpeggiator section. I can then the type is up. We can do up and down. And that's how you utilize the arpeggiator. And then you got other functions right here as well. And I can click over to get to some advanced sections right here. We got trigger, we got repeat, and all that good stuff. So those are just different functions within the ARP section. Then we already talked about tempo. Now, lock. This is very cool. Now, if I came over here and I set some of these parameters up, if I set some of these parameters up, just crazy effects and everything on here, then what lock state does is I can hit shift or hit lock, boom, hit shift and get to lock. And what this does is it'll lock that section or the state of machine into place. And I come over here and hit another one, and I can switch in between if I want to go back to my original settings. So if I come back over here to lock, boop, hit that right there, and I come over here and I change it to like flanger or something like that, some crazy stuff. Let's hit play. And then if I wanted to come back over here, I can change it back to this. And what it does is it'll lock that state inside a machine for me, and I can switch in between the two. So I'll have my original pattern that I created, and then I'll have my lock state pattern that I created, and I can switch in between the two while performing. So that's super duper dope. And over here, I got my pitch, my modulation, and then I have my Perform X. In order to operate Perform X, then you're gonna have to come over here into the plugin section, and you're gonna have to load a Perform X. But you can only operate Perform X on the actual group. Boop, and it's turned into like a stutter or something. And as long as I got Perform X activated and I got the plugin loaded on the group, then it'll automatically play when I hit this strip knob. So this knob determines that right here. The same thing right here. Then we got our note. So this strip determines what actually is controlling at the time when I press these buttons. So this is my quick, I don't know what you call this, a strip pad. So that kind of sounds bad, but a strip knob, or I don't know what this is. This button right here, this is what's controlling it. So if I'm in notes, you notice that, or if I'm in pitch, modulation, Perform X. So that's how you enable those features on top of there. And this section right here is super duper important because these are our groups. So I can get to a group just by pressing on here, and you notice that the machine changed colors because these are the colors of the pads indicate which group I'm in. I can add a group just by clicking on an empty one, keep going. I can keep going and add all kind of groups and just switch in between those groups. So I am switching in between groups right here, and I can make different groups. Like if I have an instrument group, a drum group, or a bass group, I can switch in between the two, all of those, and then actually make different patterns within those groups. So the hierarchy of machine is scenes, groups, and patterns. We're going to talk more about this when we actually start cooking up and making a beat in our next few videos, but just keep that in mind. These are my groups right here, and that's how I add them. And if you get to the point where you don't have any more groups right here, then you can access more just by coming over here, making sure you are on pad mode. And then I am in all of my groups when I'm in pad mode. We're going to talk more about this when we get to this section. But since I'm in all of my groups, I can come over here and switch between banks. And now I got a fresh new set of group banks right here that I can add that starts with A2. And I can add as many as I want, start to A3 and everything. So that is the group function. Very simple, very easy. And if you wanna extend the groups and get to more groups, then you gotta go over here to pad mode and you can add way more groups. All right, so this right here is my restart button. This is my restart and loop button. So if I'm in mixer mode right here or ideas mode, song mode, let's go to song mode, boom. Then I can come over here, hit that right there, and now I can actually hit, you know what, let me come right here, hold down that. It's kind of weird. And I turn on loop and you see that my loop right here, I can actually change the length of my loop right here. So it's gonna be looping from that point inside of the songs mode. So that's what the loop button does. This is my restart, does nothing but restart it from the beginning. So let me go back into ideas mode. And so this next tab right here is my erase tab. So what if I'm in groups, I got all of these different groups that I loaded up. Hold down shift, I keep saying tab, this next button is my erase tab. And I want to erase something, I hold down shift and erase. I can erase whatever's on this pad, or I can erase these different groups right here. And that comes in handy when you start a whole lot of stuff that you didn't really want and you're just trying to get rid of it really quick. So that is that. Let's erase that. Then I got my tap and metronome feature. So if I hit tap right here, I'm in that. You know what? Let's go back to plugin. Boom. If I hit tap right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3. You notice that my tempo is changing every time I tap this button right here. Or I can hit shift, this turns on and off my metronome, boop, right there. And then I have my follow. What this does is it'll follow the actual grid. So whatever I have the grid value set, boom, I can change my grid value. So grid value is kind of like your what it snaps to on the grid. So I can change it for perform, I can change it to patterns, arrange over here. I can even change the grid value to when I utilize a step sequencer and all that good stuff. So that's how you get to that. And then follow is nothing more than if I'm in the event right here and I hit play. Sorry, not in events, but in the step sequencer right here. If I hit follow, then what it does is the cursor, it follows the actual cursor right here as it scrolls over. So you can see that it was switching and following right there. So if I turn follow off, you notice that it stayed put, this little box stayed put. So that's follow. And when you're in step mode, that makes kind of like all the difference, because if I have follow set, and you notice that I was seeing these things highlight up. So let me turn off those right there, and we'll start over from the beginning. And I'm gonna start, oh, you know what, have follow on. And you notice that all of those was lighting up, because that's kind of like the cursor where it's going to be at in step mode. So that'll make a little bit more sense when we start programming in step mode later on in this video. So then I got my play, stop, and then I got my my stop button, my play, stop. That's pretty self-explanatory. Now this is the record count in button. So if you have a count in, which you can get to your count in by coming over here and and where is it at? My count in right here. I got mine set to 2 bars. You can change it if you want 1 bar, 2 bars. Y'all's are probably set to 2 bars, but the count in is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then it'll start recording. Mine is set to 2 bars, but if you only got it set to 1 bar, then it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, then it'll start recording. So to get to that, to have it count in for you, then all you can hit arm. This start the recording, but typically what I do, I'll just come over here, hit shift, doop. Then it'll start recording after it does my 2-bar count in. So that's how you do that. So in order to stop recording, you just hit that, and I can stop. Even if I'm playing it, then if I hit record, then I can automatically start programming drums and everything again. So if I can come over here and hit shift, oh, I'm gonna stop, and that's my count in. So just keep that in mind when you start recording. Then I got my stop button, and then I have my shift button, which we already talked about. And now let's move over into this section right here. So in this section, these are all of like where you do everything inside of the machine, in regards to like your mutes, your undos, your quantize, your clear, your semitone up and down, how you access core mode, pad mode, and all that good stuff. So let's go over it really quick. So let me come back over here to pad mode. Let's go to events. Matter of fact, let's stay in events. And this first button down here, this is my mute. So if I hit mute, I can select what I want mute from, either the pads or I can mute a group. So it'll show that it's not highlighted, and that means that you've muted it. So I can unmute that. And then in order to pin these buttons so it stays lit like that, you got to hit shift, and you got to hold it down, and you got to make sure this button right here is selected, and that'll pin that button so you don't have to press it every time. So boom, I can either not have it pinned down, or I can have it pinned down. So right now it's not pinned down, and whenever I leave my finger off of it, or let my finger off of it, what'll happen is that button will go back to the normal state that it was in before. So boop, I can go right there, and I can hit mute, and then go right back to doing whatever I was doing. But if I don't want that, I like mine pinned down, because when I press mute, I want to then I press it again. That's just an extra step for me, but that's how I've been utilizing the machine. So you can do whatever you want to do. So that's just how you do that. And each one of these buttons can be pinned down. So if you see mine staying put and yours is not, that is why that is happening. The same for note repeat. So you can have note repeat pinned down, or you can just go right here and unpin it. So you can do your notes and then go back to normal. So you have to, you know what? Let me come back over here. Hold it down and hit that right there. Make sure it's highlighted, and then you got to press the button again. So I had to say that because you guys are probably like, yo, why isn't mine stand put like his? And that's the reason why. So let's come back over here to solo. Same thing, solo. I can do the same thing that I did in mute, but you can only press one at a time. So if I got a different group over here, because it's solo, so I can only solo one thing at a time. So, and then this right here is my select tab, which is super duper dope. Let's go back over here to pad mode. And when I hit select, I got mine pinned down again. So if I hit select, what it does is I could select all of these pads, and it what it'll do is well, okay, let me come back over here. So if I got select down, if I select on one of these, then these two are selected. So I can come over here and select, boom. Now these two are selected, and I can control those two pads at the same time, meaning that if I add something to one of them, it'll add it to the other one. So I got all of my pads selected right now. So that means this entire group, if I come over here and I add this to choke group 1, then it's gonna do that for every sound, right? If I add it to send, boop, and receive, it's gonna do that for every sound that is selected. So this is very, very important, because if you are chopping samples and you want to control all of the samples all at the same time, if you want to make changes to all of them all at the same time, then you have to utilize the select function right here. So I can come over here and hit none, and it'll take off my selections. So that's very important when we get to sampling. Now duplicate and double. So let's go back over here to pattern. Let's go back over here to events. And duplicate and double is nothing more than I can duplicate one of these pads. This is going to be very important too when we go to sampling. I'm going to show you guys another technique of how to sample. So I can hit duplicate, boop, and then I select whatever I select on, boom, it duplicated it for me. So now I got that duplicated. Now I can either duplicate this or I can duplicate a group. Now that group is duplicated as well. So if it's blinking, boom, then whatever you select on will be the duplicate. So boom, now I duplicated that. Same thing with the sound. If I got whatever I'm selecting on, if I can duplicate up there. So it'll actually duplicate that. So that's how you utilize duplicate. Double is the length, is the pattern length. Let me get out of duplicate. So if I'm under double right here, boop. Oh, you know, let me go back to pattern. Now, if I'm under, I can hit shift, then I can hit this right here, double button, and it'll double that pattern for me. So it doubled the length of that pattern. So let me come back here and show you guys this again. So I hit this right here, shift, boom, and it doubled that pattern for me. So it just literally made another copy of that pattern. So that's how you double. And I can come back down here, turn that off, turn that off. So let's go back to events. And so events is pretty much, it shows what you have programmed here inside the machine. So as you can see, so it's showing me my grid of what I have programmed. If I had something like any steps in here, you see that I'm programming stuff and it's actually picking up and it's showing me what I'm programming. And I hit play. And I can see everything that I have programmed. So let me get out of steps. Let me undo all of that. We haven't even got to the undo section yet. So my patterns is, these are, like I said, Maschine operates in like a 3 hierarchy section where you got your scenes, you got your groups, and then you got your patterns. This is how I control all of my patterns. I can, what I can do is I can come over here, I can add a new pattern, so, or I can duplicate a pattern just by coming over here, hitting duplicate, and it'll duplicate that pattern over to the next. I can change this from a pattern to a clip. We'll talk more about clips in later videos when we get to arranging. But a clip is a little bit different than a pattern. It operates a little bit different than a pattern whenever we are arranging. So I can switch it to clips or patterns, or I can get to it by going right there. Or I can hit shift and it'll switch over to a clip or pattern. So that's pretty much it for patterns. We'll talk more when we actually really start to make music, and we got a section just for patterns and section just for groups and all of that this course. Now, this scene section, like I said, Maschine operates in scenes, it operates in patterns, and it operates in groups. Well, groups, scenes, and patterns. So my scenes view is super cool because now I can just come over here and I can actually create different scenes. Think of a scene as a part or section of your beat. So that's why they have the scenes and sections, which we're going to talk about in a little bit right after the scenes. That's why they got them on the same button, because your section is like an intro, a hook, bridge. Those are different sections. So I can come over here and create different sections, and I can actually rename these right here or delete these. Boop, boop, boop. Come over here and I have these different scenes. So each scene right here can be, I can set up a different scene, and I can come over here in the software and rename it and all that good stuff. So yeah, so that is your scene your scenes. Now sections, you can only get to sections when you're in the song mode. So like I said, you got your scenes, which is the different sections of your beat, but when you're in song mode, you can actually navigate to those different sections and go to those different sections and add different sections. And when you're in different sections, you can actually add the different scenes to those sections of the beat. I know that's kind of confusing. So think of it like this. I got my intro, but when I'm in song mode, I can go to the section where I want to put my intro, and then I can actually add scene 1, which is what is my intro. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my mind. So I can actually name that intro if I wanted to. So you can name your scenes, and I know I can do it on the actual the computer software. I might need to go research to see how I do it on. I rarely do it on the actual hardware. That is a great question. I need to figure that out, how to rename the scenes inside a Maschine. So, but that's not important right now. Let's finish covering all of these buttons. All right, so this next button right here, this is our fixed velocity and our 16 level velocity. So these pads and these sounds on here are velocity censored, meaning if I press it, then it gets louder the harder I press it. So I can actually fix that velocity so it won't get louder or softer. It'll stay the same. They stay the same level. So if I wanted to, I can come click on this pad right here, and if I hit shift and go to 16 velocity, it gives me 16 different velocity levels spread out over the pad. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's get out of that. Turn this off. So now we back to normal. So I can do fixed velocity. Go over here to 16 levels of velocity. Very simple. So boom, now I can come back over here, and now I'm back to normal. So that is your velocity, your fixed velocity, and 16 velocity. Now let's come over here to the pad mode. Your pad mode is nothing more than it shows you what is on your pad. So you can control everything on your pad. You got your you can go up a semitone, whichever pad you selected on. You can push it up a semitone or bring it down an octave. You can link different groups and put everything in choke groups. We're gonna talk more about choke groups when it comes to sampling. You can make sure these pads is sending or receiving MIDI. You can, like I said, you can link different groups. So if I come over here, I can link this to group 1, and everything that I select in group 1, it'll trigger it all at the same time. So that's how you can link your different pads. And like I said, you can send or receive MIDI right there. So that is how you do that. And then you got more buttons over here. You can change the colors of your pads, sound default. You can change the whatever default color that loads up, and then you can change the velocity level right there for the fixed velocity. So that is that. I can change that to 27. I don't know why it's so low. So that is your pad mode. All right, so the next mode is our keyboard mode. This allows us to change the different scales. Oh, let me go up a semitone. No, not up a semitone, up a few octaves. Now I'm in this scale, the main scale, and I'm in minor, and whatever note that I'm on, like I'm on C, and you can see it right there, is playing all of these in the scale of C minor. So I can come up here and go up an octave, no, not up an octave, up a semitone. Now I'm playing it in C sharp minor, and then I can come over here. Now it's playing it in D minor. So this determines the type of scale you're in, and well, this determines the type of scale, and this determines the type right here. So your scale and then your type, and then I can come back over here and I can change my velocity of each keypad. So that is the scale mode or the keyboard mode. It is super duper dope, especially if you got a MIDI keyboard, one of the complete control keyboards. You can actually stay in keyboard mode and then stay in pad mode all at the same time, play on the keys, and then come right here to pad mode. And then I can do multiple things. So I was playing the keyboards, you guys can't see it. Now your chord mode is super cool because you can actually come over here and you press one pad and actually control different chords. So I got mine set on harmonizer, so it's gonna play a 1, 3, 5. Oh, you know what? Let's go into something that's an actual sound. So let's go back over here to chord modes, and now I got an instrument loaded up. Now let's press one of these buttons. So it's playing everything in C minor, and this is the type of chord that I have. I can come over here, I can change it to like a 7 or add a 7. Or I can come over here and go down to chord set. And what chord set is, Native Instruments have created a few different chord progressions and sets of chords that sound good together. And I can change it right here. So that is super cool, and you can change, like I said, you could change the octave level just by hitting that up there, or you could change this by hitting the semitone level. So then I got my step sequencer. We talked briefly about this. I can actually program different stuff in by utilizing steps. So it's mapped to the actual grid, so I can see the grid value of where I'm adding stuff at on here, and I can just press it in right there. And to get rid of it, I can just go right there, hit that right there, and then we already established what the follow knob does. That actually tells us if it wants to follow that or not, and or follow that cursor or not. Let me go back into events. And so that is my step sequencer. And now for the last portion, we're just going to talk really briefly about these secondary functions on the actual pad. So I got my undo, boop. I can come over here, hit undo, and as long as I'm holding down shift and hit undo, then it'll undo, keep undoing as many times as you want to. You got your redo, so it can redo. Then I got my step undo, so I can undo my different steps that I've just created, and I got my step redo, so I can do the same thing. And undo is kind of like the overall. It can undo anything that you've done in your project that you changed and you didn't want to. This undoes the step undo and redo. And then I got my quantize, so if I'm programming drums in, I hit shift and quantize, it snaps it to the grid. I can quantize it to 50%, or I can hit right here to nudge. You can see that these notes are moving along the actual hardware, boom, right there. So I'm nudging it over left and right. And then I got my clear. I can clear that note. It's only gonna clear on whatever I have selected. So since I had that one note selected, see how that one note is highlighted, then it clears that. But if I wanted to select everything, you know, events, I can clear all, or I can select all, and then I can hit shift and it'll clear everything. Or I can just hit, let me undo that. Let me get out of events. You know what, boom. Or I can just hit shift, and I don't want to select nothing. Select none. So if I don't have anything selected and I hit shift and clear, then it'll automatically clear every single thing that's on in my grid or in my grid view. If I don't have nothing selected, it just says, you know what, we're gonna clear everything for you. So that's super duper cool. This is clear automation. So if I write automation here, then I can actually clear the automation just by hitting shift and clear the automation. This is copy. Let me go down, undo. I can go to select really quick. Oh, I keep going there. Events, select all. And if I go to copy, and then I can paste these over, and then I can start nudging these over if I like. So that's my copy and paste. And then I have semitones up. Hold down shift, so this is bringing it down a semitone. I can bring it up a semitone, or I can just go back down to that original root note, and I can come back up and go up an octave or go down an octave. So that is all of my secondary functions on the actual Maschine hardware, and I believe that is every single button on the actual machine. I know that was a long video, but it needed to be done because y'all need to know all of these buttons inside the machine. So hope you guys like this video. I'll see y'all in the next video where we're gonna be talking about I don't know what we're gonna be talking about in the next video. I'll probably do loading sounds and actually start making music. Not sure. Just go to the next video and hit next. So till next time, see you guys.